Welcome, collective, to your twin flame reading. Another timeless message whenever you come across this reading is that you may find that these messages may resonate with you. If you are a returning listener to these twin flame readings, you may catch on the narrative that twin flames is an energy that I find intriguing to read for it is complex, it's controversial, and it's just a very good, juicy story for whomever wants to believe the narrative or design a perspective on whether or not they're on their journey for themselves. So how this reading will work is that past, present, and future energetical timelines could come forth of vibrancy within a reading naturally. So take all the messages that may resonate with you and try to leave the rest behind that it doesn't belong to you. To kind of explain how this energy will work, on this side of the screen we'll focus on feminine energy, on the other side we will focus on masculine energy, and whether or not they would want to communicate with one another in this reading is when I would pull mutual energy cards to see what the story is. Twin flames is a journey that is understood best when you understand sovereignty, because as you define the narrative of who you are within yourself, you will find a better understanding as to what position of your soul journey you're on and what trajectory of destiny is for you to be able to fulfill the narrative, whether or not you have a soulmate relationship, a true soulmate relationship, a twin flame relationship, and so forth. So it's very imperative that for me, who reads the energy, that when I make the decision of whether or not I see the twin flame in communication or not, to press the limits of feminine or masculine energy reaching the highest potentiality for themselves, which is sovereignty, before we try to put in question the connection. So I hope that makes somewhat sense. A bit more about me, just feel free to check out the description box below and how you can book any type of tarot service or whatever, or any of that type of desire. I'm also a master healer, so feel free to check out the description box below for any details in regards to that, or my sister channel. Okay, all right, we're just gonna go right into pulling some cards for the feminine energy of this twin flame. Whatever wants to be discussed, what will be discussed. Right. So we have the forgotten, missed opportunities, fear of failure for feminine energy. And we have the champion, achievement, downfall. I'm being guided to pull for masculine as well. So this is for twin flames that are already in physical union. And by physical union, it means not of flesh, but they have mastered connecting with each other telepathically. Look at that, another sword here for masculine energy, beautiful. The queen, determination, sacrifice. Masculine is in their feminine energy right now, most likely picking up the energies of their twin flame, of their higher self, connecting with them. It's leading them to a path that has never been done before for the masculine energy. It's interesting because masculine energy wants to take over this reading, but we're not going to. Let's see. Yeah, but masculine, like I said, masculine wants to take over this reading here. We have the scholar, investigation, research, and the tailor. Attention to detail and pride. Look at that. Nothing says more masculine energy than that for me right now. Wow. So the tailor. The tailor is here to fix any kinks wrong with itself, you know. Mastering the suit, getting ready, you know, planning is what this masculine energy is doing. And for the security of feminine energy, by the way. All right, this is how the connection is in union. With the two swords here, it means that what carries them to be of union ties is the telepathic emotional connection here that swords typically represent in tarot sequence of cards. that the sword is about emotional intelligence, any kind of stressors that may happen from throat, third eye, and crown chakra, and having them be understood here. As we can see here, an eye here to really illuminate the connection of not only feminine energy within the twin flame union. So the loudest part of the union is the romance, the fairy tale, the potential, the juice to create, the strive to continue. And that's how the connection is speaking for itself. There are so many detailed things that need to be worked on individually for them to master what 1111 could bring them in the sense of union. To understand 1111 is to understand 711, the mastering of sovereignty of self within twin flame union. And then overall understanding the path that you have control of, also the path that asks you with that same control to let go of that control and to trust with one another. That's the ultimate, one of the highest peaks of conversations that twin flames have with one another. So the tailor comes in and leaves legacy of wanting to find the intricate details that makes the connection worth fighting for, worth waiting for, and just continues the love story that has happened over and over and over again for this connection. There's a lot of past life remembrances and individual terms for these for this connection, but I think masculine hasn't really been able to find the narrative. It's more of their heart space chiming in for the song and dance of potential love connection, waiting for the person to still be around and be right around the corner, and like right anticipatory energy. Even if this is in actual physical union, this is like having an unconditional love for the presence of feminine energy and missing it when it goes away and being excited for its return. That's very unconditional love between twin flame dynamics, which is also the narrative as to why you might not be in physical union, but the joy of living for each other is so high because the anticipation of finally crossing timelines is pretty much around the corner. Someone needs to take a deep plunge into surrendering, which is feminine's biggest struggle, which is the irony of it, because feminine feels the fear of failure over here. Feminine feels the fear that right now masculine is actually tailoring for itself and saying, I got it all going on. I understand what I have to do here, the purpose that I have to fulfill. Feminine is more on toxic masculinity. With this toxic masculinity is the shadow aspects of this masculine energy, where if the masculine energy is not doing shadow work for the masculine attributes of him or herself, then feminine energy is living them in real time in physical action, because that's just how the duality of twins ultimately in the nanoscale to the cellular level and to the soul level operate. There's a constant meshing back and forth like a DNA helix. Okay, where the warping is a in and out, not a meshing that it was once before, and trying to understand the chaos as to why these mechanisms don't fit anymore. It's not codependency anymore and the freedom of the fight of freedom. It's about the fight of longevity, which is sovereignty, understanding self, and bringing those self attributes and living color together to mesh well. The ebb and flow. Right? The ebb and flow. Alright. So, feminine energy. Feminine energy is doing a lot of like hands at work. All right, she's busy. He or she is busy. Not just also tangibly working on their crafts, maybe working on their business, getting creative measurements out, but just it's almost as if feminine energy wants to rush things. So the downfall is the masculine attributes of the products. So some of the products might have a hard time selling or you know, something, little niches get picked up along the way that you realize, if I don't fix these now, I have a bigger problem later. Like, this is about slowing down feminine energy for him or her to really pay attention to the details and not rush things. Yeah, it's like things are falling out of the hands of feminine energy, which is an irony to this, and it's because feminine energy is supposed to surrender control, that she needs to have control. So things that ultimately she's trying to shuffle through is like falling apart in like quicksand, when she's not supposed to overthink it, and then one singular card comes out, right? It's like the Star card is that fascinating energy that I'm trying to bring across, that you are the most that you can be, and that most that you can be is all that you are right now, feminine energy. And the narrative that you're on isn't about fulfilling a narrative, but arting the narrative, putting work into the narrative that you'd like to fulfill, and holding no one accountable but yourself, which could be a toxic trait of feminine energy, to blame or put the blame on anything but feminine energy, because she thinks that all she does is create, and because she is the one to create, that it's kind of like her way or the highway kind of thing. So that can be like the arrogant side of feminine energy, but it's also to his or her attribute of gaining awareness of dignity, because to understand where your value of dignified behavior is a characteristic is about trying to tame ego, and that is where femininists keep plunging into his or her ego death. And it's absolutely fascinating to see him or her plunge down and get back up and focus on me, but then also on we, which is this energy, we and me, right? It's kind of like ambiguous. What is it? Is it us or is it me? But I'm feeling us, so it's a me, but it's vibrating through you. And that energy keeps the momentum alive of what twin flame is dancing within you, however it is dancing within you, however it brings chaos into existence, whether it's pushing the limits of if it's real or not. It's that real that it's marking itself as something, and that's room enough to negotiate of quote unquote how real it is. Feminine is asking masculine to put more work into what they're doing. It's like, you see me do all the work and creation over here, but you're just tailoring things up thinking that you're finished. No, there's a continued timeline to keep going, and feminine energy is telepathically sending the signals to masculine energy that, you know, you kind of have to get your shit together and focus on your ego deaths. You have to focus on your shadow work. You have to focus on some sort of game plan. And masculine energy is like, yeah, I'm focused on it, but he or she is focused on the love that they're feeling right now through the connection, and kind of not the logical, practical things that makes them fit into society. If that makes sense. All right, Page of Pentacles for feminine energy. Yeah, feminine energy is more grounded than masculine energy, okay? More materialistically abundant in the connection than masculine energy at this time. Wanting to show up and put out is an energy that feminine is conquering, because as a Page of Pentacles, he or she is allowing themselves to feel uncomfortable in the vicinity of their environment, and in finding the little niches to make it comforting. And this is in the absence of masculine energy, which is more power to feminine energy to stabilize her overactive, or maybe also underactive masculine energy. Yeah. Okay. So the quest for feminine energy is to prove to him or herself that she has the ability to understand a narrative that is his or her existence. The point of the magic for him or herself, besides the anxiety of existence and anxiety of living and anxiety of death, to really perpetuate meaning in this very daunting, chaotic atmosphere, let's put it that way, of not really knowing but feeling so much. But these feelings are not grounding you in more insecurity for feminine energy. It's grounding you in potentiality. And to feel that in the midst of chaos is the best way that feminine energy can trust him or herself to get into the rhythm of positive, balanced, healthier masculine energy for him or herself. Alright, so masculine energy, like I said, is in the overabundance of emotions, of receiving the message telepathically without him or her knowing, through the love that feminine has. And the love that feminine has compared to what masculine is receiving at this time is just filtered more of themselves. And filtered more of themselves means they've reached a higher vibrational version of acknowledgement and accolades for consciousness that here is being understood and received by masculine energy. However, the part that's difficult for masculine to understand is why the feelings that they feel that brings them assurance doesn't match up into the material world that they're living in. And that's where it becomes problematic, because they see that in the relationships that they carry more so than a materialistic world that makes them who they are, right? So it's the identity factor that masculine is around so many roles and so many labels that have a meaning in a material world that feminine also shares, but where feminine is more materialistic, masculine is more in the relationship already found in the people that they're in relation with. So it puts a crux, because masculine energy has to make decisions that ultimately has a cost effect on their heart. And it's a lot for masculine energy to feel so in love with hearing the call of feminine energy, but not in love with how toxic their world may need to be addressed or may need to be made aware of, for them to realize they have yet still several hurdles to overcome before they pretty much see eye to eye with one another, to say the least, between feminine and masculine energy, or for then self-masculine energy to feel satisfied with the kind of man or kind of woman they are within themselves and for others. Yeah, so Four of Pentacles is the I need to protect, right? Where we talked about the Page of Pentacles and feminine energy wanting to secure her ground because she has that power for him or herself to understand that about themselves at this time. Four of Pentacles for masculine energy is fixating themselves to understand what their security is, where the material aspect of taking the roles of people away and making a structure of living space, foundation of home, structure, family, more at play, more at the maybe the looking glass to look under for masculine energy, to understand what kind of resolutions they can bring to any problematic situations in their life by looking at their desires through a looking glass of what they want to consider as family. That will help them gain more maturity. Page of Swords. So compared to feminine energy, Page of Swords is saying, you know, I'm fighting in receiving the message, where feminine is understanding their purpose in regards to structuring themselves. Masculine is dancing a bit more in that, not because they love this song and dance more, but more so because they're trying to process what is of them and what is the telepathic communication of needs to be done by feminine energy. And it's causing a bit of chaos, but not stress. It's more of trying to understand, because the part of the confusion is not understanding. So if they don't understand, it's hard to pinpoint what it is that needs to be understood if you just don't know anything at all. But this is about getting into other layers for masculine psyche, I would say, and make the masculine proof to themselves that they can handle stress, that they can handle chaos. And when you can handle those things, you're showing the process and the value between and of the Page of Swords energy. All right? It is not very mature, you know, but it has the same maturity level as the Page of Pentacles over here. It's the same level of groundedness, but in a different compartment of understanding in the vessel. I was just like trying to get the words out of a mutual energy card, and the Hierophant zipped out. All right, that is, I mean, it's beautiful, and saying, well, we already connected. It's blatantly clear here in the energy with the Hierophant. This is my deck, by the way. So the union is already there. Twin flame is it's a silent union. Okay, it's hard to put words on it because words will taint what it is. So twin flames who are on twin flames never need the pomp and circumstance, the blah 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 blah, the pompous decorations of marriage. They will never need it. It would be just an absolute gift to be able to relive that once more. And once that becomes that clear, every step spent together, every moment not yet together is a wonderful journey to be on, because it's about refinding each other and loving every individual between now and then and onward, to really fortify the connection as to what makes you twin flames. That's the ultimate lesson of anyone who already is a twin flame, to not second guess, to not press ether, to not worry. And of course, these are all words that are easier said than done, but they need to be understood in a way of not wanting to trigger the personality within you that feels offended, but more so the soul that already knows what to expect. And that expectation cannot be met with anyone who reads your energy, because you feel the energy of your own sacred connection, however far or close you are with one another. All right, so feminine energy wants to talk. Ooh, the end. Feminine already knows who their twin is. All right, they already know. I don't care if you know the actual flesh color or not, or the hair color, eye color, seen this person. I don't has nothing to do with physical attributes, but feminine energy already knows that they're working on something, because they're working with something. And when they're working with something as intricate as they are already, there's nothing that can stop them from, if I have to use the word believing, then I'll use the word believing. But there is nothing that can put anything in or be put in the way of feminine energy to give him or her what she needs. It's already done. It's already over. Only thing that's really left for that, but what ifs and all the if that could happen, and the wishes for all of those listeners right now who are wondering why they're not sitting in the same living room with their twin, is because masculine energy, like I said before, has to understand what the connection means for feminine energy to show up. because once feminine energy makes the entrance, she won't go. So right now, she also will not arrive unless certain contracts are fulfilled. And these are contracts that are between these two souls, meaning the feminine versus the masculine in this union. Whatever contracts need to be fulfilled or overwritten or overruled or time, I don't know what's going on. Universal justice has to be put in place for feminine to be like, all right, now we can be at the beginning because we've reached the end of whatever we needed to heal in quote-unquote freedom world. And now that we will arrive at the sovereign world, we're already committed anyway. What's the problem? So the problem is the ebb and flow, all right? Individualized ebb and flow. All right. Feminine energy has more control of this union. Look at that. Look at that. Oof, oof, oof. Yeah, feminine energy is ushering masculine energy to get their shit together and understand the purpose of their connection and the song and dance about love, what it means for them to be together, for his or her and his or her connection to even be existent. Feminine in a way already knows this, okay? And she wants to come back, like I said, and reconcile and be in physical fleshy union with the message that she's seeing, with the fight that she's working on and has been. She's never looked away. She's never looked away from anything but towards the connection. And anyone that came in the way of that, she easily cut the tie because, well, it didn't feel right. In the soul of soul, it wasn't her true love returning back to her in this lifetime. So something comes in and says, all right, this isn't the one. And then feminine energy picks up the work again and tries to put the most of her perspective of love that she has left of love into another relationship and another relationship. So I can see that there's a lot more emotional maturity in the feminine relationship in regards to her past, and what makes her already a million times more mature in the connection of the union, where you're already in communication with one another, all right? Where you're willing to bounce back the energies is what makes this even more so a very powerful connection. That I can see you still might be, I don't know, feminine energy. It's crazy because it's too much. It's too general. But there is a ton of feminine energy that is like locked themselves up in the aptitude of focusing on school, on institution and community work, on her own home, her own business, her own islands of beauty, okay? She wants to live in palm trees and beaches and live her fantasy as much as breathe it, but she's never lost faith in returning back to her love. And that's where masculine is quiet. So quiet, like too quiet for feminine energy. That's why feminine energy is wild, all right? Another form of narrative is that there are a lot of feminine energies in this connection who are in the same home with their twin flame, but they're like, what the fuck? Are you not? What, you're not keeping up, all right? And that's because masculine is still needing to, quote unquote, awaken with certain veils, with certain cognitive dissonance in this connection, because, yeah, you're not getting it. And that's for some other polarizing conversations. Let's see, for masculine energy. like I said, it's stuck. It's stuck, all right? It's quiet. It's quiet because with the silhouette here, this person is not doing shadow work, all right? He or she is not. And they want to. They disguise themselves in misery of bullshit. And like, oh, I know my problems, but if they look closer, they're like, ooh, that looks dirty, and I don't know how to clean it. Feminine, come in and clean this shit for me. And feminines with the narrative like, fuck no, do your own dishes. Oh god. This is funny. Oh man. This is like, I feel like I entered every dynamic into a household right now that struggles with the narrative like, bro, you don't even understand how much I can't get rid of you, but you are not hearing the call of how you're supposed to go deeper within yourself to understand why I'm so loud. And that's how masculine kind of cowers over and is quiet, and it's not fair to the connection because the connection is so fucking loud. And when the masculine is as quiet but the connection is so loud, the feminine will, I mean, it's a tornado waiting to happen, ladies and gentlemen, in between and beyond. It's a tornado waiting to happen. It's like she's slowly gonna drop the petals, and the petals are gonna start morphing into a whirlwind and another whirlwind, and they're gonna keep picking up all the dust petals of all the other leaves that she's and just tornado's gonna happen. All right, and then masculines be like, yo, I don't even understand. But masculine does understand. That's the problem. That's how the connection is like, no. It becomes speechless at this point because the energy is too loud and too clear to want to use any kind of language to taint that truth. But only two twin flames staring at each other or being in the same room will understand what the hell I'm talking about to that. It's like, in this connection, speaking to one another is an honor because what we feel is too much, it's too big. So how dare you stop time in the little quote unquote that we have of time of this lifetime of expression to meet me halfway with bullshit. That's the feminine energy angst. It's like, come on. Being a little bit of a bully, and that is what masculine can't stand because they may have been bullied. At this point, I don't know what the silhouette of a person over here has had and done in their past to be like, oh god, I'm bombarded with the shit that I have now. But everyone has shit, everyone shits, and everyone's responsible of what we consume in order for that shit to be prettier, especially if it was uncomfortable with the first shit. I mean, look at that. Eight of Swords, bombarded with the energy of Eight of Swords energy here. All right, I said the connection is felt through understanding the emotions and the pressure that feminine has over the connection, feminine energy has over the connection. Whether or not they're receiving that message and putting stress upon themselves or not is what you see highlighted as the Eight of Swords energy. However, Eight of Swords energy doesn't always have to be as negative as it depicts itself to be. It could also be very positive in the fact that it's a self-sabotaging element in a way, okay? In a way, it's self-sabotaging because if this person realized that they are surrounded by swords, they can maybe maneuver themselves, start cutting themselves out of this straitjacket, out of this bondage, all right? But they feel very limited. They're like just stunned. They're in like a stun gun of like, all right? And they're like, they don't know how to act. And it's so not typical for masculine energy to be in this type of pressure. But this is where then we have to understand the overall politics of what it means to be a bruised alpha male at this point, or male energy, all right? Genderless, ladies, all right? So this alpha male status has been tainted for a very long time, and the stunning factor is that in the way that it has been toxic, it has never been able to heal its feminine wounds of mother. So if the mother aspect of wounds never have been healed, then they cannot be expected to understand the love potential of feminine energy wanting to go through them at this time in this connection and reroute themselves into being a strong spine or a backbone for feminine energy. It's just difficult for them at this time because they haven't done root chakra, sacral chakra healing. Very clear. It's very clear that they're not doing shadow work, but feminine energy is absolutely tired. It says here at the end underneath here, right, to discuss that any longer. Because if she has gone through the continuous ego deaths to be able to warn another person that they also have to go through the same cycle, she knows she can't push someone's awakening. So she's going to mind her own business. And in a way, masculine sees that as a bit of a threat. Yeah. 9 of Wands energy. One more card for masculine. Yeah. But as you can see here, look at that. Right after that card of like, all right, I see what you're saying. I see that I got to do some shit. I got to work some shit out. He or she is doing it over the masculine energy. That's why they're in communication. Okay. That's why they're in communication, because it takes recognition of self to be able to learn how to let go and trust what's to come. And the union naturally allows them to do that. Whether or not they're aware of it's their union doing it, I mean, that's irrelevant. That's not necessary to know or to focus on. But it is something that is felt, so that's why it's not necessary to focus on it. Alright, one more card for... Ugh, look at that fucking shit. There's a mosquito. Oh, no. Murder's about to have a mosquito. As a tower comes, see that tower hovering over the masculine side? And what's interesting is that this tower is coming over as the masculine side. And right now in the reading, it's feminine energy being aware of like the mosquitoes, right? Like what has to be taken care of first for things to be understood, things to snap back into quote-unquote normal, for negative energy to be chased out, to leave the room. Like, those energies are things that feminine energy picks up really easily, hence why in many more ways than one, overall maturity is higher in the feminine energy of this reading than masculine energy. And that's where masculine energy, was supposed to be the quote-unquote backbone for feminine energy, is feeling the tower moment that feminine energy creates, because that's what the energy that masculine energy is not understanding about him or herself at this moment. Needing to let go of physical connections, of false relationships, of false narratives, and stepping into the real utter truths of that feeling at the end of those epiphanies. Because compared to that, feminine already has that under the bag. And so they're going to force masculine to feel that energy. In more ways than one, that's the best thing that could happen, because masculine needs to wake up. Alright, I have to slowly start getting out of this reading for upload reasons, so we're going to pull mutual cards and mutual energies. You are it. Beautiful message for the both of you, from the both of you, to the both of you. Okay, we have learn about deception. Very cute that this is like very pink and blue energy right now. Learn about deception. The end starts a new beginning. Look at that, how the energy repeated. I will cry, however, it's not working for me anymore. Look how interesting this is. This is the pink energy. Masculine is trying to communicate for feminine energy that you are it, to allow feminine to trust and keep surrendering in the connection. And this is masculine admitting that the end starts a new beginning. They're admitting it by saying, I feel the connection. I just don't understand how I understand it. As we got connected. As they don't understand it. And then feminine is going through and saying, I would cry, however, it's not working for me anymore. It's for the message of feminine energy that is connected and riveting through masculine energy that masculine has understood already, but they need to process that in actuality in their life by not being very dramatic, and in those moments of drama, force feminine energy to validate their experience, because for that, validation won't come from feminine energy. It won't come. You don't go through ego deaths and become validated at the end of the day. That's not that's not what these ego deaths are all about. That's not what the ebb and flow is all about. And that's not what you would do that on a path of freedom, but on a path of sovereignty. You understand the small marginal rooms of differences that are eternally like defining. And that's something on a very cellular aspect masculine needs to understand, and they're not understanding that yet. And that's why masculine is experiencing more daunting wavelengths in their life, little bit lower lulls and less higher highs than feminine energy at this time, at this connection. All right, that is all that I have for you at this time. Again, if you'd like any of my services, to check out the description box below. I'm wishing you a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. Excuse me. Toodles.